All right, great. So, hey, y'all, what's going on? It's me, Kevin, with FitMenCook, and I am here with the main man, Furious Pete. Pete, what's
What's
going
going
on,
on,
man?
everybody? Do we
Well,
have
thanks so
anyone
much.
even watching?
Huh? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. But how do I check and see how people are watching? Yeah, there are a couple people watching right now. So, what's going on, y'all? So, this is our first hangout, my first hangout. Pete, is this your first hangout?
I don't think I've ever done one of these, or if I have, it was like years ago when Google Plus just started.
Right,
Yeah, so
right.
this will be interesting. I'm excited.
Yeah, so this is broadcast live right now, so just bear with us. So I think at the top of your screen, if you're watching from a computer, there is a little icon there where you can ask questions. So be sure that you are posting your questions there so we can go ahead and get to them. We've got some questions that we're going to answer like already, but if you have questions throughout this entire broadcast, just post your questions there. And also give us feedback too, because if something isn't working, then we can try to adjust and make sure that we can make it okay. Mm. So, Pete, you ready to get started?
I think I am. Are you? That's
Yeah,
the big
man.
question.
Stay ready. Stay ready.
All right. All
So
right.
this is kind of fun. So I really want this just to kind of be just an open dialogue about food, about training, about everything in between. And plus, I want to give people a chance to get to know you. You've got an incredible story, an incredible journey in fitness, and I don't think that many people know that. They see all your viral videos on like YouTube of you eating this crazy stuff, eating 30 Quest bars at one time, or drinking a jar of pickle juice, and traveling around
Yeah.
the world. But do they really understand you and your journey in health? So I kind of want to start there.
Okay.
So my first question to you is, how did you get started into eating? Like, so talk about your journey in food. And the reason why I asked that question is you're a pretty big guy, right? And I read that you actually struggled with anorexia at a very young age. And I
Yeah.
and from what I understand, a lot of people who are anorexic or struggle with that, they have like an aversion to food. So how did you go from perhaps fearing food to embracing it and loving it and stuffing your face full of it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was diagnosed with anorexia in December 2002. That's a big cup. Um, anyway, so in
My
2002.
crack juice. This is my crack juice cup.
Nice, 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 nice. So December 2002, I was hospitalized for anorexia. I was 6'2", 120 pounds when I was hospitalized. A year prior to that, basically there was a lot of complications happening in my life. So both my parents were hospitalized for numerous reasons. I was told I might have cancer. And I was going into my final year of high school, so I was, obviously I wanted to try and do well and try and get into a good university and so on. So I basically had a lot of pressure, and I was looking for something to control my life. And I decided that rather than resorting to maybe drugs or alcohol to kind of ease my mind, I started controlling food. I was kind of a shy kid, so I didn't really like reach out to anyone, so I was keeping to myself, and I started controlling food, and it started spiraling out of control. I started doing a lot of cardio, and I just started dropping weight, and as things got worse, a voice started developing inside my head telling me I'm fat, I'm useless, and all that, and things just got worse and worse, and that's what happens when somebody develops an eating disorder, develops anorexia or bulimia. Anorexia is the restriction of food, so both are a fear of food. Anorexia being just not eating and starving yourself. Bulimia being eating and then purging afterwards because you are scared of gaining weight.
Right.
And so things got out of control. Things got worse and worse. Eventually, I was hospitalized. And then I spent about 6, 7 weeks in the hospital before I checked myself out. I
Wow.
thought I'd be able to, overcome this on my own and be able to, recover and get back to normal. Doctors told me that, you should stay in the hospital a little while longer because you're clearly not ready to go. But, me having this mindset that, like, I'd be able to, I left. And it was about 6 months of ups and downs. There was a lot of struggles that happened in between. I'm not going to get into all the details
Right.
today, but there was a lot of struggles that happened, but eventually something clicked after about 6-7 months of struggles. Discovering bodybuilding.com forums, started talking to people about my problems, and as soon as I started actually being open and confronting my problems, I was able to actually start getting better, because I feel like with a lot of mental illnesses out there, if you simply don't acknowledge it and don't acknowledge that you have a problem, you will never get better. If you keep denying the fact that you have a problem, you will never get better. And so, yeah, started confronting that I have an eating disorder, I have a problem gaining weight, and started posting pictures. Yep.
Walk me through that process, because you said something there, that's very powerful about being able to confront the problem head on and to talk about it. You know, a lot of people, especially guys, first off, you don't really associate like anorexia to men.
Yeah.
But it is one of those body image like disorders that like a lot of people struggle with, and many men do. So how difficult was it for you to actually say, you know what, let me go ahead and talk about this publicly? What was going through through your mind at that point to go ahead and do that?
I think it's because it was kind of like a last resort even. I had been battling mentally for so long, I had a lot of struggles, and arguments and back and forth with like family members because they wanted me to get better, and I told them that I am getting better in my own little way, but deep down inside I wasn't. So initially, because I was posting on a forum and it was digitally, I was doing everything electronically, I kind of felt like I wasn't, I was being open about the problem, but I was doing it in a very subtle way, in a very like, I feel like if I was confronting people physically, I think it would be a lot more difficult. But because I was doing it online and I was talking to people that already had these issues, it became a lot easier to be open about it. And the more I was open about it, the more support I got, the more I was able to do it more publicly and do it everywhere and talk about it everywhere.
Absolutely. I kind of find that same story too, like with me, because I kind of hid the fact that I was trying to go through my own like physical transformation, and I went online to kind of help me to stay like accountable and to share that journey. So I think you're absolutely right in saying that like the more that you can kind of share those things out in the space, of course there are going to be some knuckleheads here and there, but by and large I think people begin to like embrace that story. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, that's the internet. The more I guess you've realized and I've realized, the more of a fan base we get, the more followers we get, the more you hear the negativity. The negativity comes with it, but at the same time, you got to embrace it, and you got to look past that.
All right. So moving forward with your story, so now you have confronted this issue of food, and you're going public, and you said, hey, you know what, I struggle with this, and I'm trying to overcome it. Take me through. Now, how did you get from just struggling with that to getting 6 world records in competitive eating? That's awesome.
Yeah, so we got a lot of Guinness World Records. If I was back, I'm at my office right now. If I was at home, basically the whole wall is actually filled with records now. We got like 12 of them posted up, and I hope to continue on with, well, a little bit here and there. I want like 20 records, and then I'll call it a day. But anyways,
I want
honestly,
one. I just want one.
Yeah. I'll hook you up.
I appreciate it. Get 21.
You know what? Recovery for me took a total of 3.5 to 4 years.
Wow.
And by recovery, I mean I had gained weight, but the problem with mental illnesses like an eating disorder, anorexia or bulimia, is you develop this voice inside your head that's telling you terrible things, and it's controlling you. The brain is probably the most powerful thing that you have, and mind over matter is a big thing. But if you can't beat this voice inside your head, or if you're not willing to beat this voice inside your head, it will control you, and that's what was controlling me. I had gotten into university and I was living, it just simply took a long time to fully overcome that voice and get rid of that voice. And,
Right.
it definitely, started dropping years by months, especially as I was starting to eat more, work out more, feel more comfortable in my own skin. But it took a long time. And then I fully felt like I had overcome this voice inside my head. I started living my life normally in university, started going out, grades were getting better. I was hanging out with girls, partying, going to the gym, just living my life the way I guess a normal 21, 22, 23-year-old would live.
Right.
And then I guess it was midway through my third year of university, after a night out with the boys, we woke up with hangovers, and we needed something good to eat, something greasy to eat, something that you
Right.
would obviously cook up for me at that point. Yeah, I would love it. But anyways, so we went out to this breakfast pub, and this breakfast pub, they served up a number of like crazy dishes, big dishes, and I, started eating this one dish called the linebacker. Had two of every breakfast item you could ever think of. So
Holy smoke.
a perfect,
What's a linebacker,
perfect dish
by the
for
way?
Texas. Yeah, perfect
What
dish for
is?
Texas. Yeah.
What's the
Um,
linebacker?
yeah. And so there was, bacon, eggs, French toast, normal toast, pancakes, waffles, everything you could ever think of. Um, and
That's
so I ate this dish, and one of my best friends, he actually likes to challenge people to do random things, and he asked the waitress in the restaurant what the record was in the restaurant for eating, for eating these dishes, and apparently he was eating two of those in an hour. And so he said $40 to anyone who can beat the record. I ate four of those plates in an hour.
oh,
Um,
you
yeah,
shattered it.
yeah,
Did you
shattered the
surprise
record.
yourself? Dang.
Yeah, I definitely did. I wasn't really thinking. All I was thinking is I'm a broke university student, and $40 is always going to be good, right? But
Yeah.
after that, my buddies and I, we just started finding random challenges online, and I started posting them on YouTube. This was in 2007. This is like, I started YouTube, I guess, way back, but the first few years, it was just about me just throwing content up there, showing off my skills. And eventually, I started doing professional eating contests after a year. I broke a bunch of records. I started doing a German television show a year after that. I'm still doing it. It's a world culinary travel tour show. And then I've been doing Guinness World Records. Have 12 of them now. And it just, I don't know, it just started. But I guess when you look at my story, a lot of people will hear anorexia and then they'll hear competitive eating. And they will think I went from one extreme to another, which is
Right.
perfectly acceptable if you don't know me on a daily basis, if you don't know my life. Because, yes, I do these crazy things with food. I do crazy things with food, but I don't do it often. I balance it within my life. And which I think is very, very important. Something that I think we should discuss during this hangout is all about balance, because I feel like in this fitness industry, a lot of athletes out there, or when we see these inspirational figures online, when we look at their diets and their training habits, it is just sometimes it's a little bit too, the word that I need to use is anal, because they're just
Right.
so on point where they just have to they can't cheat. They have to have this meal at this hour, this meal at this hour. They have to do this kind of training, and it just sometimes you just feel like you get too caught up in it and you just can't enjoy life. You can't, let's say you go to a nice restaurant, you can't enjoy what that chef is cooking. You have to have your dried chicken with rice, and
And steamed
basically
veggies.
I want to show. Sorry.
And steamed veggies too. Don't forget the
Oh,
veggies.
of course. Hold the butter.
No butter, no oil.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, and sometimes you just, I feel like if you balance it right and if you do it right,
Yeah.
you can still have a good physique, feel right, get stronger and everything. So
Right.
yeah, I think you live that philosophy too. It seems that way
Absolutely.
at least.
Absolutely. That's one of the main reasons why I started up FitMenCook, was because of that exact problem. Like some of the best fitness advice that I never got that I wish I had is that I don't have to follow a bodybuilder's or model's diet in order to be healthy and to get the physique that I want. All right, because
Yeah.
I was following that diet day in and day out, and there were tons of sacrifices. So I have a lot of respect for people in that industry who are models and who are athletes like that. But that's not the model. I mean, but that's not the life that I want to have. I was basically trying to train for like a photo shoot that was never going to happen. And so I'm reading all this stuff. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? And then what would happen too, because the diet is so strict, I would
Right.
end up cheating. And so it'd be like this yo-yo effect of like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so it kind of came to a tipping point, like with me, to say, all right, Kevin, you can't keep going back and forth like with your weight. You know, you have to kind of figure it out, because I'm thinking that we've got all this food around us, and you're telling me that I can't eat any of it to be healthy? No. So that's what really fueled my desire to go into Half Price Books that day and to buy every single diet book they had and just start reading. And then I got cooking that way. And so my whole philosophy was that healthy eating does not have to be boring and bland. It can be very creative. And it just started with me trying to get creative, like in the kitchen with different foods and spices. Now, am I ready for a supermodel type of, Mr. Olympia type of competition? No. But I'm happy the way I am, and I love my physique. I think I look darn good. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Um,
Yeah.
and also, I know how to tweak my diet in order to get to that place as well. So that's the beauty of it. And that's kind of the reason why I wrote, the book, No Cheats Needed, or actually put it together in this way to kind of show people, hey, you know what? You don't have to follow such a huge, strict diet to be healthy. But your food can be flavorful, it can be fun, it can be creative. So yeah, good points. Now you just said like a whole bunch, and I want to just like break down like what you just said because it was so awesome. The first thing that I want to go back to is you said it took you about 3 to 4 years to get to that point of like competitive eating, right? Because you were battling like in your mind. I think that's such a powerful statement, and I want you to kind of dig deeper like into that just for like a couple seconds, because one thing that I struggled with was this, going back and forth, and it was I realized that I lacked mental toughness, and that I thought that I could, go ahead and like commit to something, but then I would stop. How did you, going back and forth, how did you finally commit to a healthier lifestyle or to find that balance? What was it for you?
You know, I feel like it's that's a tough question to answer, to be honest, because there were so many times where you think you found balance, and then the voice that was developed inside my head would take over. So there's always these struggles, and I feel like um, honestly, I think that's just a really tough question to answer as to how long and what it took to find balance. But
Hmm.
I think that it was just finding out what your passions are, and finding out that you know what really makes you happy in life. I feel like that's what kind of started to help with finding out what it is. I'm losing I'm losing words right now. I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure it all out. Um,
trying to
but yeah,
find
I think it was.
what keeps you up at
Yeah,
night. It
go ahead.
sounds
Sorry.
it sounds like you're trying to say something like, maybe like try to find what actually keeps you up at night, because you were just like in a restaurant playing around with your friends with this cooking contest, this eating contest, and all of a sudden you had no idea that you had this potential to scarf down 4 big plates of food within like 1 hour, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
it just kind of, it kind of made you kind of think like, what else is actually in there, and could this be something else? And so it's kind of finding out like what you're passionate about, maybe like, what makes you tick, what makes you happy.
So I wouldn't say necessarily like competitive eating doesn't necessarily it's not like I enjoy eating an immense amount of food and eating it quickly. Like
Oh,
there's no real joy.
I do. I love food. and I will eat tons of quantity of it. But go ahead.
But you won't believe me. Kevin, trust me. Trust me, when I say eating 10 to 15 pounds of food in a sitting, it's not fun.
Okay.
It's a job at the end of the day. That's what it became. It was my job. So, but outside of that, finding balance was the key, because, to be able to do this and still be able to look a certain way, feel a certain way, I think that was the difficult part at the start. It was, finding out, what I could eat during the day or during the week in order to be able to do these contests, and figuring out fluid intake. That's what definitely was crazy during these times, where I was averaging about 3 to 4 gallons of water a day. Yeah, and most people, just, and I wasn't stepping on stage or anything like that, because that's when you hear 3 to 4 gallons, people are stepping on stage. No, I was just doing it because that's how I felt comfortable, which is weird at that point, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you stay motivated then to your goals? I know that everyone has the ebbs and flows where like you're feeling really good about like what's going on like in life, and you're eating really well, you're committed to your training program, and then there's some days that you just don't feel it at all, and those days sometimes can turn into periods of time. And your journey started a long time ago, back earlier than like 2007, right? You said?
Yeah.
Around
2007.
So you've been at it for like a long time. How have you been able to maintain that like momentum for so long?
I think that, because I'm not ever anal about my diet. I love healthy food. I absolutely other kind of healthy food is the only kind of food that satisfies me, right? So, but at the same time, I love every kinds of foods. Connected with that, I love the gym, and I love everything about it. I love training. I've managed to balance it in the way that I started off doing bodybuilding. Then I tried doing CrossFit for about a year and a half. Got way too many injuries, so I started going back to bodybuilding, strongman stuff, powerlifting, and now I just, I'll even do CrossFit stuff now. I'll combine all of them, and it's just, I'm all about variety in the gym and in the kitchen, and I think that is the key. Where if as long as you don't keep it boring, I think that's what keeps me motivated, because and I think that's the key. If you're not I think that's what you do with your recipes. You don't make them boring. If you did make them boring, nobody would probably be watching you. To be honest, right? Let's be honest, right? But they're not boring, and I think that's the key, because as long as you're making you have this variety, then you can keep yourself motivated with everything that you do. Because if you keep doing the same thing day in and day out, you will lose track and you will go off the wagon.
Absolutely, absolutely. People always ask me about some of my meals and how I keep up like the creativity. I have 2 rules. Number one, I'm going to try to follow. One is color, and I try to have at least 3 or 4 different colors for each meal that I have, because the different colors will represent like different like vitamins and minerals and antioxidants there, and so it kind of challenges you to actually bring in more foods that you may not be eating, and it's actually quite harder, than you actually may think, because when you really look at your diet, it's pretty like monotone. It's pretty much like chicken and some green, or some protein and some green, and so very rarely are we venturing out and trying new things. And so what I try to do like early on is to say, all right, if I don't know the foods like right off the bat, let me at least go by color. And so
right.
Color to taste, and I was able, and that kind of fueled like some of that, the whole like creativity. And the second thing is just variety. I try to like keep my diet very interesting, and one of the primary ways that that I do that is by taking the meals that I really enjoy and then recreating them. So my first meal that I recreated was a quesadilla, because being here in Texas, Tex-Mex food and just Mexican food is huge, and I would eat quesadillas and Mexican food about 3 or 4 times a week. And so when I was exactly, it's awesome food. It's really good.
So good. So good.
exactly. And so when I committed to this healthy lifestyle, I said, all right, I'm not going to give up the foods that I really enjoyed because that didn't work last time. It just led me to, to losing the weight and gaining weight back, and then gaining so much weight back I couldn't even fit inside my t-shirts anymore. So I said, all right, let's break down this quesadilla into its base ingredients. And I was like, all right, instead of putting this flour, buttery tortilla, I'm going to use this Ezekiel tortilla. Instead of cooking the chicken in a whole bunch of oil, I'm going to use some spray coconut oil with a non-stick pan and just like minimal seasonings on it for right now. I'm going to keep in the pico de gallo. I'm going to take out some of the queso fresco, and I'm going to use some like goat cheese. It's higher in protein, like lower in fat. And I just begin to like plug and play until all of a sudden I could get something. I'm like, you know what? It tastes pretty good, and it's healthy for me too. Win. So that's my two little, my two-step approach to actually eating healthy and trying to keep your diet interesting.
Yeah, because I guess we eat with our eyes too, right? We mostly eat with our eyes. So if you have that color, every time I see your damn pictures on Instagram, I always get hungry because you always. I don't know what kind of camera you use. I don't know what kind of effects you use. I don't know if it's your magic. Yeah, you're a ninja with that camera.
iPhone.
You do it right. You do it right.
And I appreciate that. So how do you keep your diet interesting? Like, what's your favorite go-to healthy meal? If you're on death row and you have to choose a healthy meal, let's say not death row, but if you can choose one healthy meal, what is it?
You know what? Generally, my diet is I eat a lot of eggs. I love my eggs, so whether it's whole eggs or egg whites, I mix that up, and I'm all about sauces. I like hot sauces, and I think that's what really just does it for me. I throw a lot of meals. I'll just chop up some chicken, throw in some eggs, throw in some hot sauce, and that does it for me. Some avocado as well. I use a lot of avocado. I feel like that makes me happy. So I put that in there as well. But yeah, those are generally my meals. But if I'm on death row, man, it's a nice juicy steak.
You said cheesecake?
No, steak.
Oh, steak. Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Come on, Texas boy.
Oh man, flank steak. That is my go-to dish. Yeah. That is my go-to right there. Okay, so I've got a couple fun questions for you, and I want to get your perspective on these. So the first one is treat meals versus cheat meals. Is there a difference?
I think there can be. You're talking to an interesting person in regards to this.
Right.
I think it all depends on there's treat meals. Treat meals I feel could be healthy meals as well too, though, right? I guess in one perspective, I guess cheat meals can too. But I think cheat meals and treat meals. Cheat meals should be a meal that you just simply don't stress over, don't think about too much, and just go at what you want. And I think that a treat meal can be, I don't know, what's your definition of a treat meal?
Yeah, you know what? For me, there's really not a difference, but for other people, I think there is. So my definition of a treat meal is a meal that is not healthy, but it's planned, right? And so if people call those cheat meals, right? But if it's planned, it's really a treat meal because you're actually knowing about it. A cheat meal,
I think this is the second or third time I've ever heard treat meal before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe I'm kind of confused, to be honest.
It's a nice buttery way to go ahead and say cheat meal then.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is just the same thing.
I think it is the same thing. For me, it is. Some people just eat cheat meals, and that's like their regular diet.
Right.
My philosophy, just because my book is called "No Cheats Needed," is I definitely believe in cheat meals. I think the cheat meals are okay, especially for what you do in terms of like bodybuilding and like powerlifting, and I'd love for you to touch on that. But I think that what I'm trying to combat though is this idea that like you need cheat meals in order to survive an actual diet. If your diet is healthy and creative and non-boring, then every meal is a treat. Because I know that everything that I eat is a treat, so I know it's possible.
Right, right.
So
Um,
can you kind of shed, huh?
Sorry, say that again.
Can you shed some light on like cheat meals for you, and how do they influence your training?
Um, it See with cheat meals is what I do is a lot of times I'm gonna a video that I'll film sometimes is a cheat meal. Often,
Hmm.
sometimes it's not because sometimes I just do very disgusting, gross things where I don't enjoy that meal, so therefore it shouldn't be classified as a cheat meal. Um, but I feel like, especially with training, it definitely helps me personally with recovery. And I wouldn't necessarily say it helps me with my training session the next day. Often enough, when I have a cheat meal, um, especially when I'm filming, it doesn't necessarily give me positive effects for the next day. It definitely does help me with recovery, and overall just keep on progressing with strength or whatever it is that my goals are. Um, but I feel like when I have, just controlled cheat meals where it's just like a really good meal, so it's a nice fatty steak with baked potato and stuff like that, then I can actually have a really good, decent training session the next day. So I guess it all depends on the kind of cheat meal that I am doing.
But you do believe
Did
in
that answer
cheats,
your
right?
question? I don't even know.
Yeah,
What?
yes, it does. And so, like, what I'm hearing is that cheat meals can be okay, so long as they're like influencing like your training. But for the maybe the average Joe out there, or average Jane, who's I kind of maybe like new like into fitness and healthy eating, would you recommend cheat meals?
I would always recommend cheat meals, simply because, well, as long as, especially when you're just starting, um, I I would I would definitely have them as part of your diet because, especially when you're starting, it becomes, it's hard to move from eating whatever it is that you are eating, or whatever
Right.
it is that you want to eat, to super healthy. And doing that transition is difficult mentally, and you're losing all these tastes and everything like that. So
Yeah.
especially at the start when you were just getting into fitness, I think it's really important to have those cheat meals so that you don't lose track and you don't stop doing your diet or training. I think it's very important to have cheat meals at the start.
Okay. Definitely understand that. For me, I could say the same thing. If you can make your diet creative and non-boring, though, I think that there's a way that you can still get some of those flavors and taste in there, so that way you don't have to rely on those. But I do think that what you're saying, though, is that there needs to be some sort of bridge, and
Yeah.
and hopefully, what I try to do, like with my page and with my social media and my recipes, is I try to kind of be that bridge for people who are really
Hmm.
trying to migrate over from that lifestyle. So I love what you said. That's spot on. Okay, so we have some questions from people, but I want to do something that's kind of fun. I want to do 15-second rapid fire. All right. So I'm going to ask you 3 to 4 questions, and like you just give me your soundbite like perspective. So you can say, no. I mean, you can say yay, or you can do the Kanye nah all right, and then just say why. And you got 15 seconds for each one. All right?
Okay.
All right, so the first one, intermittent fasting. Go.
Uh, Yay and nay.
Yeah,
I'm in the
okay,
middle.
why?
I like them both.
Okay,
It's
you
not
like
for
both?
me. It's not for me. It's not for me.
Okay. All right, intermittent
Are we going to
fasting.
talk
No,
about
I'm
this or
sorry.
no? I
No, no,
could
no.
easily talk about it.
All right, you can. I'll give you 15 extra seconds. Go ahead.
I find that I can't function as well throughout the day if I do intermittent fasting. I've tried it, but I just can't be as productive as I want to be if I do intermittent fasting.
Okay, there. If it fits your macros, go.
Nay.
Nay.
Contrary to
Okay.
popular belief, I say nay.
Why? Is there any way?
Because there's just a lot of because I mean like with a lot of stuff like intermittent fasting. I mean if it fits your macros, like it just if you're doing all McDonald's, that doesn't work in my opinion. I mean it just goes through your system and you feel like shit. So I think that's just there's so many there's just too many. It's too vague. I think if it fits your macros, it's way too vague.
Okay, fair. The paleo diet.
Oops.
Okay, is you
Um,
back? You back? Okay.
Yay. Yay and nay. I'm always in the middle with diets
Yeah,
because
you got
I don't like
it.
the word diet most of the time. That's why.
Okay. All right. And then the last one, supplements.
Um, Yay and nay as well because I mean, yay, they can help you. Are they necessary in this world? No. But I feel like they can help you. Where especially if you have a busy lifestyle. Yes, they can help. They aren't necessary for success, but yes, they can help.
Okay, perfect. Oh, hold on. One last one. Skinny tea diet detox.
Haven't tried it, so
Okay.
I can't comment yet.
Okay. Oh, and the last one. No cheats needed.
Yay.
There we go. All right. So we got some questions here from Instagram that we got earlier on.
But I want your now. I want to know what you would say for those.
Oh man, don't put me. You got.
No, no, no. Okay, okay, let's go.
Okay.
Intermittent fasting, yay or nay?
The Kanye is not for
Okay.
me just because of the lifestyle. I think that it could fit some people's lifestyle, provided that that they can go long periods of time without eating. I find that my energy's low. I can't really function, and sometimes people have some issues sometimes with like hormone balancing as well.
Yeah.
So it's good for some, not for all. It's definitely not for me.
If it fits your macros?
If it fits your macros. Yeah, I'm in the middle with this one. Okay, I
Yeah.
like the philosophy. The only thing that I don't like is that I think that it kind of gets a bad rep because people go ahead and post things like Oreos and Burger King and all these fatty foods and stuff, and
Yeah.
they say it fits my macros, and they'll post Coke and say it fits there. But what about does it fit the chemicals? All this processed food.
That's a
People
good
forget
one.
about
If it
that.
fits your
I
if
think that
it fits the
yeah,
chemicals,
I think that it sends the wrong message to people out there who are really trying to get fit, who may not know. So there you have it.
all right. What about the
Uh,
tea one? What about skinny fit tea?
that, mm, ah, I tried to, I don't, I've only tried one like a long time ago because it was a product that was sent to me. Um, Here's the thing. I think that I maybe dislike the marketing more than I dislike the product. Just because I'm not a fan of these fad cookie cutter like really quick diets. I'm not saying that that one is, but I'm saying that things like that they try to get you to shed weight just by drinking a drink like really quickly or going through your system. And that was the one that was sent to me. I'm not saying that all are actually like that, but that's not what I
Yeah.
like to endorse.
Yeah, I actually just got a product from a company, and I'm actually trying it out for the next few days. So I'm curious because yeah, personally, I'm a tea lover. I know that there's a lot of good stuff with
Yeah,
teas. Will it
absolutely.
will tea alone help you? No. Let's be honest.
Right. 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 And for some people, they actually may need that. It helps them to go ahead and like detox and do that. But I tell people too, you can also just drink some green tea and start, eating like a lot more veggies and some raw veggies and push that stuff right on through your system. So, all right. And I think that was the last one, right? And no cheese needed, I think, was the other one. And I say yes to that.
You
Okay.
said yes? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think you would.
Two thumbs up to that one, homie. Yeah. The best thing ever. You gotta have that. Okay. All right. So we got some questions, and I'm gonna pitch them to you, and we can kind of tag team back and forth. So, Poncho 33. What's the best way, food type, and frequency to stay lean but still put on some pounds? And I'm gonna kick that one to you because you've been able to kind of go from very lean to putting on some good bulking weight. So what's the best way, the food type and frequency, to be able to stay lean but still put on some pounds? So I think he's asking about, or she's asking about a lean bulk.
Right, right. My personal opinion, and what worked really well for me, which a lot of people nowadays will call bro science, is eating frequently. The more frequently I ate, the more results I got. And I called this concept grazing. And I compare it to a cow. Now, I'm not saying we're cows and we look like cows, but at the end of the day, when you look at a cow, the ones that are out in the fields and just eating grass all day, they're pretty lean most of the time.
Right.
And that's why I like this concept where you are constantly, well, it's very difficult for most people to do it, but when I was doing it, I was snacking, eating almonds, having tuna here and there, and that's what I was doing in university. I would end up eating sometimes 12, 14 meals in a day, but they were all mini meals, right? And I felt that would actually help me the most. Essentially, your metabolism, the furnace that you have within your body, is constantly ignited. And you're constantly putting nutrients in your body, so you're always recovering. You're never going to be in a, you're always going to be anabolic as a result.
Right.
So that's what worked well for me. It's not realistic for a bunch of lifestyles, but that's personally what worked well for me, where I was just always putting nutrients in my body.
I would have to agree with you about that. The smaller meals and more frequently. I think that when I was able to kind of put on some weight, I did increase 1 or 2 meals, so I was up to about 7 meals per day. And then just over time, I just began to increase my caloric intake. So about every 2 weeks, I would just bump it up a few hundred calories, and that actually helped me out. But great advice. What's this next question?
This one says, do you microwave one?
Okay. So ED3RP wants to know, do you microwave all of your prep meals? I guess that's going to be going to me, and I'll shoot that to you as well, Pete. But the majority of them.
Sorry.
Yeah. Do you?
Sorry, I'm tethering off my phone, so it's I'm just making sure that.
Yeah. It's do you microwave all of your prep meals? Is the question, and that is from ED3RP. I'm going to say yes, I do. I know that there's some concern about that in terms of just reheating it that way. I just find that from a time perspective, I don't have time to really put it into the oven. Now, if I'm having something in a glass jar, which I sometimes actually show on Instagram, those actually go into the oven more. But a lot of them are just reheated there in the microwave. One thing that I do as well to kind of just to help to guard against that is I make sure that all of the microwave containers that I do have are BPA free. And I know that doesn't mitigate or that doesn't take away all the risk, but it does mitigate it some. Pete, what about you?
My opinion, well, I have a lot of meals that I'll just eat cold. I won't reheat. There's a lot of times where you're on the road, and obviously finding a microwave isn't the easiest thing. Finding an oven, finding anything isn't the easiest thing. So sometimes it might not taste as great, but you're getting your fuel in, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day, is you're getting that fuel. Personally, I've never become really concerned about microwave usage. Food out of an oven is always going to taste better.
Right.
It's just how I don't know. That's just how it is. It always just tastes better. Over a fireplace, it's always going to taste better. But microwaves are handy. They're there. They make things a lot quicker and much easier. So I don't think there's anything that wrong with microwaving and reheating your meals. I don't personally think that there is. I know that there's a lot of people that feel like there's a lot of concern.
Oh crap!
With it, but me personally, I don't think so.
Okay, very fair. I got one here on the actual live stream page, on the Hangout page.
I can't even see any of that talk. What is
so
that?
I think that, you know what? To your left, if you hover over on your computer, there's a Q&A button, and you click that Q&A. All the questions come up. But we've also got a ton from Instagram, so I'm ninja style right now.
Right on.
All right, so I'm going to select the question from Dan Pham, and I'm not sure what that does when I selected it, but I'm going to read it off. What are some of your favorite foods to snack on? So for me, I actually like to snack on lots of nuts and dried fruit. I think that those actually keep me really satiated, especially when I'm traveling. So I really always make sure that I have an assortment of nuts, you know, and they're unsalted. I also like beef jerky and turkey jerky. Those are things, you know, that are high in protein. The sodium is very high, but you know what? I really don't worry about the sodium as much, just because I am pretty active and I try to work out, and so I need that too, like as you know, as an active individual who actually easily sweats. And you know what? I think I said nuts already, but I really love nut butter. And I have an unhealthy addiction to it, but it's one of my favorite foods to snack on, and I will literally put nut butter on just about anything. Pause. But yeah, Pete, what about you? What are your favorite foods?
I'm pretty much in the same category as you. I mean, whenever I stop, if I'm driving a long way and I'm stopping at a gas station, it is going to be beef jerky. You know, any kind of jerkies, I love them. Yes, they have a lot of sodium, but that's just my excuse to drink more water. You know, I find that that's always good. Look, I got a mix right here in front of me. This is what's in here. We got edamame, cranberries, almonds, and pumpkin kernels. I love nuts and dried fruits as well. I find that they're very satisfying. They give you really just like slow released energy. And yeah, I love the taste of, you know, my bulking, how I did bulking in university was eating peanut butter, almond butter, and drinking milk.
Such a good point. Because the high calories, and you know, people don't really know that you're actually boosting your calories a couple hundred just with a handful of nuts. So
yeah,
it's awesome
totally.
For, you know, for bulking.
Yeah.
All right.
And like dried chickpeas, I ate those all the time. Dried soybeans, all that. They got a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, and they're just, you know, really low at GI and everything. So it really just goes slowly throughout your system.
Okay. Yeah. And one last thing to that too. I love purchasing air pop popcorn and kind of adding in my own seasonings to it. I think that actually helps out. I like to add in much more of the cayenne pepper because I find that cayenne helps to curb some of my cravings. So air pop popcorn and some cayenne pepper or something or some spice. I like doing that.
But then you need a microwave.
No. You actually buy it air pop, homie.
Oh.
Yeah, you can buy it air pop.
We're not as blessed up here in the Great White North, I guess.
We got everything here in Texas, in the U.S. So
and probably massive.
and really big bags too. You already know. Okay, another question, and we'll take a few more. This is from Already Shining. What is your budget for groceries weekly? Put us in the ballpark for healthy eats and protein. It's $500 a month. I'm kidding. I'm so kidding. I know y'all like, I ain't spending all that. Okay, so for my regular meal prep, if I'm going to be prepping like you all, I keep my budget between 75 and 120. All right, so what's the spike? Depending on the protein I use, it's going to spike the price. Right. But I can get away with $75 to $120 each week. The proteins that I like to go to are chicken breast, and then also ground chicken breast. Now the reason why I do those over turkey is turkey actually tends to be slightly more expensive, ground turkey is, than the ground chicken. And then the steak, the premium things I like to incorporate would be the flank steak. Fish is really good, but fish tends to be on the high side. So if I do select the fish, and I know, please don't write me and talk about how tilapia is crazy, you shouldn't be eating it, but I eat tilapia. Tilapia and also swai. Those are a really good budget white fish that you can actually incorporate like into your diet. I haven't noticed any, you know, changes to my health because I've been eating those. But that is my weekly budget for meal prep. Now, if you want to know the one for FitMenCook to be able to put out the videos and put out the recipes, you don't want to know that one. Pete, what about you?
Yeah, if I'm not shooting videos, there'll be times where I've shot videos and we do a budget of $300-$400 to buy food for a video sometimes. It's crazy. But that's not for daily. That's not for weekly life. My budget's probably about $100 to $200. Food prices are actually higher here in Canada than the States. So especially for protein sources, it's hard to find decently priced protein up here. I tend to do chicken breast, eggs a lot. I'll get a steak here and there, but not often. I like my steak, but most of the time when I actually eat steak, it tends to actually be out and about when I'm out. Fish, any kinds. I usually do salmon, trout, things like that. What's so funny?
You said out and about. That's the Canadian coming. About.
I totally did, didn't I? I don't even realize. I don't even see myself saying it or anything. But yeah, with budgets, it's all about protein, right? That's what's the most expensive. Everything else is cheap overall. When you have grains, vegetables, and things like that can also add up, but not as much as the protein sources. That's obviously the most expensive. So that'll always vary. What's on sale in the store that week, things like that.
Okay, Pete.
Delayed, aren't we?
Huh?
We're really delayed.
Yeah, and there's tons of questions. So let me just do this one last question because it's from a 16-year-old and it's directed at you. And I'm going to select it here, and it says, "Hey, Pete, do you have any tips for diet for people that are 16 years old? I always drop down again. I lost 10 kilos, but I'm always falling back down again." So it sounds like maybe he's going back and forth. He's doing a little bit of weight gaining and then dropping. Hopefully I'm getting this right.
Yeah.
What would you advise people who are really young in high school and grade school who are trying to put on some weight?
So, yeah, it kind of seems like he lost 10 kilograms, but then he dropped again.
Yeah, it says I lost 10 kilos, and then he lost it 3 times, but he's always falling back down. So it sounds like he's going up and down, up and down, up and down.
So he's trying to gain weight, right?
I believe so. What are some practical advice, or some tips for people who are really young like him?
Try and find a, like, when I was gaining weight at that age, especially at that age, your metabolism tends to be much higher. So you have to keep that in mind. And when you have that higher metabolism, you need calories. That is when that's when, if it fits your macros, comes into play, I guess. But at that point, like, I want to use calories like nuts that we were talking about. Nuts with higher calories. I feel like that's something that you have to keep. If you like nuts, peanut butter, almond butter, things like that, I feel like that's what you have to have by you at all times. When you're going to school, have a jar of that in your backpack, and try and have a tablespoon throughout the day, kind of thing. Try and eat that throughout the day. I think the important thing is, it seems that he's having trouble putting down a lot of food, so I think you have to focus on the higher calorie foods in order to maintain whatever weight that you have or try and gain weight. So I would focus on the higher calorie foods. So we got maybe fattier kind of protein, so we got salmon or steak. We got all the nut butters, and then maybe avocados, so different kinds of oils that you can incorporate.
Mm-hmm. I love that advice. Higher calorie foods, man, and that should help you out to get that weight on. And you got to keep it up and be consistent with it as well. You can't just stop it and start it. So I mean, start and then stop it. So be consistent. I'm gonna click done on that one. All right, so we have actually reached the end of the session. I know that there are tons more questions, and I'm actually going to try to go to Instagram to answer some of them right now. But Pete, thanks so much just for joining.
Hey, last question. The question is, when are we going to collaborate on a YouTube video?
I want to select that one. When are we going to collab on a YouTube video? I would love to go and do that. Hey, I'm not cooking for you though, because you just said you spent about $400 for one thing, for one grocery bill.
That's when we want to go extreme. That's when we go extreme. No. Come on, let's be serious.
I don't want to go that extreme. I want to keep it budget friendly. So I would love to do that. We should talk, because I think that we can start off 2015 with an epic collaboration, epic meal prep versus epic eating. Epic, is that good? Maybe?
Yeah, sounds awesome.
All right,
sounds
I love
awesome.
that question. Well, again, man, thank you so much for tuning in. I know that you have a really busy schedule. I'm surprised that I even caught you here in the continental, like North America.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for taking this call. I know that people will love it.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Absolutely, man. And for people watching, I'm going to work with someone to actually post this to the YouTube page. And so we'll post it, and so you can watch this again and hear Pete and hear myself and explain all these great answers. So again, thank you all for watching, and take care.
See you guys. How do I cancel it? There we go.
How do I do the stop broadcast? Okay.